I did an Indonesian boat trip for Stab magazine with Geordie Smith. It was the Stab in the Dark. Took all the surfboards, went to test them in the Men's-Wise, and at the end of the trip, very last day, we do the board reveal, the board that he chose, and we film the final session, and there's this huge downpour of rain. Now we're actually anchored next to HT's and Lance's Right. And one of the last boats, because it's gotten quite late, we've shot quite late into the evening. Geordie wants to get one more wave, and he catches the last wave in the rain, and we kick out, we're like, dudes, if we don't leave in the next half an hour, we're gonna miss the long transfer back to Padang. And the swell and the squall is quite intense, the boat's rocking, and we're like, okay, we all just get onto the boat, I'm unpacking, I'm downstairs, I'm like, cool, what a great session. And I'm starting to hear these weird sounds, like people shouting and the boat's not moving. I'm thinking, something's not right. And I went upstairs, and what happened was the kind of little tender boat, the rubber duck that they use for just day-to-day transfers, as the big boat was slowly reversing to pick up anchor, they had got the rope entangled in their impellers. And the small boat had to be chopped because the rope was getting all entangled, and it seized our engine. So now the engine seized, the small boat can't be used, and now the anchor was half up, and it had seized the whole engine, which they used to bring the anchor up. And now we're just drifting backwards. And there's a wave behind, there's a left that you have to be very careful over the boats, and we're moving there slowly with this rip. So everyone's now freaking out, and the skipper and the second mate don't know what to do. And I'm like, guys, we jump off the back of the boat with our goggles to see what's happening. And I can see the rope is just completely, that huge, it's just completely impended with all the rope. So I'm saying, okay guys, well, here's my water housing, put as many cell phone torches as you can into the housing, and one of you needs to hold it underneath so we get some light in there, and just give me a knife and my pair of flippers and my goggles. And I went under and I started to try and cut the rope. But the problem with these big Men's-Wide boats is that the engine compartment and where the actual turbine sits is in the middle of the boat, not at the back. So you've got to swim quite a way under, like 3, 4, 5 meters to get to it, and then you've got to cut, and then you must go back and get a breath. So Paul Daniels was on that boat, and anyway, long story short is I start cutting these ropes, taking breaths, go and cut another rope, and somebody else comes to help. But while that's happening, I'm actually wedged into a big drum, and all these barnacles are inside this drum, and I'm leaning into the drum barnacle to try and cut the ropes. And while I'm doing that, I'm just getting cuts open all over my back, and they just start seeing blood, and they thought the guy with the other knife had stabbed me. And it's a long ordeal, but eventually we get the last bit of rope free. But while I'm doing this, I've been praying, first of all, just that we can get out of the situation. But secondly, I realized suddenly at the very end that what if this boat goes back on? Because now that was a seized, that switched off. And what happens if these Indonesians haven't realized and haven't put the engine actually off? And as soon as I cut the last thing, this starts, going around. So I got this incredible sense of peace. Once I prayed, the Lord's like, I've got this part. You do that part, and you got this part. And I knew that there was a sense of peace that I'm not going to be in a situation where the Lord has not protected me. And we cut the last bit of rope, came out, started the engine, and it sounds like a movie story, but the last few waves of this other reef were basically the boat was breaking onto the back of this next bit of reef, and we just get out of there in time. So it was like, another minute we would have washed up onto the reef over there. And it's in a situation like that, we do build character, but we are allowed to commit it to the Lord, and then really feel a sense of peace, knowing that we are not alone in that scenario. So those kind of things happen a lot on trips. You get shipwrecked or you lose your stuff, and I often find that a great sense of peace that you don't worry, because people worry. And then there's so many scriptures about don't worry, pray without ceasing, and the way will be made.